The hospital's fluorescent lights flickered as Dr. Elias Carter sprinted down the corridor, his heart pounding louder than his footsteps. A 9-year-old girl, pregnant, was in labor. Impossible, unthinkable, yet real. Every second felt like a race against a truth too heavy to bear. Elias pushed through the double doors of St. Mary's Medical Center in Chicago, the air thick with antiseptic and tension. The call had come at midnight, jarring him from a rare moment of sleep. Emergency case. Pediatric wing. The nurse had stammered. "You won't believe it." Now, standing in the sterile chaos of the ER, he faced a reality that defied everything he'd learned in medical school. A child, barely tall enough to reach the nurse's station, was about to give birth. The room buzzed with whispers, nurses exchanging glances, residents fumbling with equipment, and the weight of 1,000 unasked questions. The girl, Lily Harper, lay curled on the gurney, her small frame swallowed by a hospital gown. Her dark hair clung to her sweat-soaked forehead, and her hazel eyes darted nervously, clutching a tattered stuffed rabbit. Elias knelt beside her, his voice soft but steady. "Lily, I'm Dr. Carter. We're going to take care of you. Okay." She nodded, but her trembling hands betrayed her fear. Something about her gaze, too knowing, too burdened, made his chest tighten. This wasn't just a medical anomaly. It was a story screaming to be understood. Beside Lily stood her foster mother, Ms. Clara Dunn, a wiry woman in her 50s with a face carved by worry. Clara's hands twisted a rosary, her lips moving in silent prayer. "She's been with me 2 years," Clara whispered to Elias, her voice cracking. "I didn't know. How could I not know?" The guilt in her eyes was raw, but Elias had no time to console her. The monitors beeped erratically, signaling the urgency of Lily's condition. He turned to his colleague, Dr. Saringwin, a pediatric surgeon with a reputation for staying calm under pressure. Sarah's brow furrowed as she reviewed the ultrasound, her lips pressed into a thin line. "This doesn't add up," Sarah muttered, her eyes flicking between the screen and Lily. "Physiologically, this shouldn't be possible. Her body isn't developed enough." Elias nodded, his mind racing. The ultrasound showed a fetus, small but viable. Yet Lily's age made the situation a medical paradox. The team needed answers fast, but first, they had to stabilize her. Every moment was a tightrope walk between saving Lily and grappling with the impossible. As the team prepped for an emergency C-section, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that this case was more than a medical mystery. Lily's quiet strength, the way she clung to her rabbit, hinted at a story buried deep. He exchanged a glance with Sarah, who nodded slightly, her eyes reflecting the same resolve. They weren't just doctors today. They were detectives, unraveling a truth that could shatter or heal. The hospital's chief administrator, Dr. Margaret Holt, stormed into the room, her presence commanding silence. "This is a media nightmare waiting to happen," she hissed. "We need to control the narrative. No leaks." Elias bristled at her cold pragmatism, but he knew she was right. A pregnant 9-year-old would draw vultures, reporters, activists, and worse. Protecting Lily meant shielding her from more than physical harm. As the anesthesiologist prepared Lily, Elias leaned close, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're so brave, Lily. We're right here with you." Her lips quivered into a faint smile. And in that moment, Elias vowed to uncover the truth not just for the hospital, but for her. The surgery began. The room a symphony of beeps and hushed commands. Sarah's hands moved with precision, but her eyes betrayed the weight of what they were about to discover. Lily's story wasn't just a case file. It was a puzzle with pieces scattered across a broken world. Elias felt the weight of it settle into his bones. Whatever truth lay ahead, it would change everything for Lily, for him, and for the hospital now holding its breath. The operating room was a cocoon of controlled chaos, the air thick with tension and the hum of machines. Elias stood by Lily's side, his gloved hands steady but his mind racing. The C-section was underway, and Sarah's voice cut through the silence. Calm yet urgent. "Scalpel," she said, her eyes locked on the incision site. The team moved like a well-oiled machine, but every glance exchanged carried the same unspoken question: how did this happen? Lily lay still under anesthesia, her small chest rising and falling rhythmically. The stuffed rabbit rested on a nearby table, its button eyes staring blankly, a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Elias couldn't look at it without feeling a pang of sorrow. This child, barely out of elementary school, was at the center of a storm no one could have predicted. Sarah's hands worked swiftly, navigating the delicate procedure. "The fetus is small, but viable," she announced, her voice steady but laced with disbelief. "We're almost there." Elias watched the monitors, Lily's vitals holding steady for now. But the real challenge wasn't the surgery. It was what came next. The truth about Lily's condition was a shadow lurking just beyond their reach. As Sarah carefully extracted the newborn, a collective gasp rippled through the room. The baby was tiny, fragile, but alive, its faint cry piercing the sterile silence. Elias felt a lump in his throat as a nurse whisked the infant to the neonatal unit. Lily was safe, for now, but the questions multiplied. How had a 9-year-old's body sustained a pregnancy? And why hadn't anyone Clara, teachers, doctors noticed sooner? Post-surgery, Elias and Sarah sat in the break room, coffee cups untouched. The weight of the night pressed down on them. "I've seen rare cases," Sarah said, her voice low. "But this, it's beyond medical. There's a story here, Elias, and it's not a happy one." He nodded, his thoughts drifting to Lily's haunted eyes. "We need to talk to Clara," he said. "She's our starting point." Clara waited in the family lounge, her rosary now limp in her hands. When Elias and Sarah approached, her eyes were red, her voice barely above a whisper. "I swear I didn't know," she said. Lily was always quiet, always hiding in baggy clothes. "I thought she was just growing." Elias exchanged a glance with Sarah. Clara's guilt was genuine, but it didn't explain everything. "MS. Done," Sarah said gently. "We need to understand Lily's history. Where was she before you?" Clara hesitated, her fingers tightening around the rosary. "She came from a group home in Indiana," she said. "Her parents, they died when she was 5. Car accident. She's been in foster care since." The words hung heavy, a fragment of a larger, darker puzzle. Elias pressed further, his voice soft but firm. "Did she ever talk about anyone? Someone who might have hurt her?" Clara shook her head, tears spilling over. "She never said much. Just clung to that rabbit." I thought she was healing. The room felt smaller. The air thicker. Elias's mind raced abuse. Neglect. A system that failed a child. The pieces were starting to form a picture, but it was one he wasn't ready to face. Back in the pediatric ward, Lily was waking up, groggy but alert. Elias sat beside her, watching as she reached for her rabbit. "Where's my baby?" she whispered, her voice small but piercing. Elias froze, caught off guard. The question wasn't just medical. It was personal, raw, a window into a truth they hadn't yet uncovered. "Lily," he said carefully, "your baby is safe. In the neonatal unit. Can you tell me what happened? How did this start?" Her eyes filled with tears, and she clutched the rabbit tighter. "I didn't want to," she whispered. "He said it was love." The words hit Elias like a punch, confirming his worst fears. Someone had betrayed this child in the worst way, and the hospital was only beginning to unravel the consequences. As Elias stepped out to brief Sarah, a nurse approached, her face pale. "Dr. Carter, there's a man outside. Says he's Lily's uncle, demanding to see her." Elias's stomach dropped. The puzzle was growing darker, and the hospital was no longer just a place of healing. It was a battlefield where truth and justice would collide. The hospital's waiting area was a stark contrast to the chaos of the operating room. Quiet, almost too still, except for the man pacing near the reception desk. Elias watched him through the glass doors, his gut twisting. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, with a weathered face and a cheap suit that didn't quite fit. He claimed to be Lily's uncle, but something about his agitated demeanor screamed trouble. "His name's Paul Harper," the nurse whispered, handing Elias a visitor's badge. "Says he's family, but he's not on any of Lily's records." Elias nodded, his jaw tight. He turned to Sarah, who was scribbling notes on Lily's chart. "Stay with her," he said. "I'll handle this." Sarah's eyes narrowed, but she nodded, sensing the storm brewing. Elias approached Paul, keeping his tone neutral. "Mr. Harper, I'm Dr. Carter. Can you tell me how you're related to Lily?" Paul's eyes darted, his hands fidgeting. "I'm her uncle. Her dad's brother. Heard she was here. Had to come." His voice was rough, like gravel, and his story felt rehearsed. Elias didn't buy it, but he kept his face impassive. "Lily's stable, but we're limiting visitors. Can you provide ID or documentation?" Paul's expression darkened, his hands balling into fists. "She's family. I don't need papers to see my niece." The air crackled with tension, and Elias signaled a security guard to stay close. "We'll verify your information," Elias said firmly. "For now, you'll need to wait." Paul muttered something under his breath and stormed off, leaving a chill in his wake. Back in the pediatric ward, Lily was sitting up, her small hands tracing the edges of her stuffed rabbit. Sarah sat beside her, her voice gentle as she asked about school. Favorite colors, anything to build trust. But Lily's answers were short, her eyes distant. When Elias returned, he caught Sarah's gaze. "That guy's trouble," he said quietly. "We need to dig deeper into Lily's past." Sarah agreed, pulling up Lily's foster care records on her tablet. The files were sparse, gaps where details should have been. Lily had bounced between homes since her parents' death, with little documentation of her time in Indiana. "This is a mess," Sarah said, frustration creeping into her voice. "No medical history. No red flags. Someone dropped the ball." Elias's thoughts churned. Lily's words, "he said it was love," echoed in his mind. The hospital wasn't just treating a patient. It was uncovering a crime. He called Clara back in, pressing for more details. Did Lily ever mention an uncle? Anyone named Paul? Clara shook her head, her face pale. No. Never. She didn't talk about family. Just, she'd have nightmares sometimes, crying for her mom. The pieces were starting to connect, but the picture was grim. Elias contacted Child Protective Services, requesting an urgent investigation. Meanwhile, Sarah stayed with Lily, coaxing fragments of her story. "He came at night," Lily whispered, her voice barely audible. "Said he'd take care of me. I was scared." Sarah's heart broke, but she kept her composure, jotting down every word. By evening, the hospital was abuzz with rumors. Nurses whispered in break rooms, and a local reporter had already sniffed out the story, hovering outside. "Dr. Holt called an emergency meeting," her voice sharp. "This is a powder keg. We need answers before the media spins this into a circus." Elias pushed back. "Lily's not a headline. She's a child who needs us to protect her." As night fell, Elias sat by Lily's bedside, watching her sleep. The hospital's hum faded into the background, and he felt the weight of her trust. Paul Harper's sudden appearance wasn't a coincidence, it was a thread in a tangled web. Elias vowed to pull it, no matter where it led. The truth was out there, and it was darker than anyone in street Mary's could have imagined. Dawn broke over Chicago, casting a gray light through the hospital windows. Elias hadn't slept, his mind consumed by Lily's case. The neonatal unit reported the baby was stable but fragile, a mirror of Lily's own condition. Every hour brought new questions, and the man claiming to be her uncle loomed like a specter. Elias met with Child Protective Services in a cramped hospital office. The caseworker, Ms. Rivera, was a no-nonsense woman with sharp eyes. "Lily's records are a disaster," she said, flipping through a thin file. "Multiple foster homes. No consistent oversight. We're pulling everything we can, but it'll take time." Elias's frustration flared. Time's not a luxury Lily has. Someone hurt her, and they're still out there. Rivera nodded, her expression grim. "We're looking into this Paul Harper. No record of him as family, but we found a mention of a family friend in one of Lily's old case notes. No name, no details." Elias's stomach churned. Paul's agitation, his insistent sight fit the profile of someone with something to hide. "Keep him away from her," Elias said, "and let me know the second you find anything." Back in the pediatric ward, Sarah was reading to Lily, her voice soft as she narrated a story about a brave rabbit. Lily listened, her eyes brighter than before, but the weight of her trauma lingered. When Sarah finished, Lily whispered, "Can I see my baby?" The question hung heavy, a reminder of the impossible choices ahead. Sarah hesitated, then nodded. "Soon, sweetheart. We're making sure you're both okay." Elias joined them, pulling Sarah aside. "CPS is digging, but we need to talk to Lily again." Gently, Sarah agreed, but her eyes were wary. She's starting to trust us. Elias. We can't push too hard. They approached Lily together, sitting on either side of her bed. Lily, Elias said, his voice warm. Can you tell us about the man who came to see you? The one who said he was your uncle. Lily's face paled, her fingers tightening around her rabbit. I don't have an uncle, she said, her voice trembling. He was at the group home. He said he'd be my family. Elias's blood ran cold. Paul wasn't just a liar, he was a predator. Sarah's hand grazed Lily's. A silent anchor. You're safe now, Sarah said. He can't hurt you here. The hospital's security team confirmed Paul had left the premises. But Elias wasn't reassured. He requested round-the-clock protection for Lily's room. Meanwhile, Dr. Holt was battling a growing media storm. A leaked rumor had hit local news, and reporters were circling. We need a statement. Holt pressed Elias. Something to keep this under control. Elias shook his head. Not until we know Lily's safe. This isn't about damage control, it's about her. By afternoon, Rivera called with a breakthrough. Paul Harper was a volunteer at Lily's group home in Indiana. She said, no criminal record, but there's a pattern, complaints about him getting too close to kids. Never proven. Elias's fists clenched. We need to find him. Now. Rivera promised to escalate the case. But Elias knew the system moved too slowly. As evening fell, Lily's strength returned. But her questions grew sharper. Will I get to keep my baby? She asked. Her voice small but fierce. Elias and Sarah exchanged a glance, their hearts breaking. The medical miracle was only the beginning. The real fight was for Lily's future and the truth that would set her free. The hospital hummed with a restless energy, the kind that settles in when secrets start to unravel. Elias stood outside Lily's room, his phone buzzing with updates from Rivera. Paul Harper had vanished, no address. No trace after leaving the hospital. The police were now involved. But the trail was cold. Elias's frustration gnawed at him. Every delay felt like a betrayal of Lily's trust. Inside, Sarah was helping Lily draw, the table covered in crayons and paper. Lily's sketches were simple but vivid: a house with a bright red door, a family holding hands. This is what I wanted, Lily said softly, pointing to the drawing. A real home. Sarah's smile was tight, her heart aching. She glanced at Elias, who nodded. They needed to keep Lily talking, to piece together the fragments of her past. Lily, Sarah said, her voice gentle. Can you tell us more about the group home? The people there. Lily's crayon paused, her eyes distant. It was loud, she said. Lots of kids. Paul, he was nice at first. Gave me candy. Said I was special. Her voice cracked, and Elias's chest tightened. He knelt beside her, keeping his tone steady. You didn't do anything wrong. Lily, can you tell us what happened after? She hesitated, then whispered. He took me to his house sometimes. Said it was a secret game. I didn't like it. The words were a knife, cutting through the room's quiet. Sarah's hand trembled as she wrote down every detail, her face a mask of professionalism hiding her rage. Elias felt it too, a burning need to protect this child, to make someone pay for her pain. They reported the details to Rivera, who promised a deeper investigation into the group home. We're pulling records. Interviewing staff. She said. But these cases, they're messy. Kids like Lily slip through the cracks. Elias hung up, his jaw tight. The system had failed Lily, but he wouldn't. Meanwhile, the hospital was a pressure cooker. Reporters camped outside, and Dr. Holt was in damage control mode, drafting a vague press release. Elias ignored her, focusing on Lily's recovery. The neonatal unit reported the baby was gaining strength. But decisions loomed. Would Lily's child go into foster care? Could a 9-year-old even comprehend motherhood? The questions were as complex as the medical case itself. By evening, Lily was strong enough to visit the neonatal unit. Elias and Sarah walked her to the glass-walled room, where her baby lay in an incubator, tiny but fighting. Lily's eyes widened, a mix of awe and fear. She's so small, she whispered, pressing a hand to the glass. Can I name her? Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes. Of course, sweetheart. Lily chose the name Hope, her voice soft but certain. The moment was a flicker of light in the darkness, but it didn't erase the shadows. Paul Harper was still out there, and the truth about Lily's pregnancy was a wound that hadn't yet healed. Elias vowed to stay by her side, not just as a doctor, but as someone who believed in her resilience. As night fell, a nurse rushed in, her face pale. Dr. Carter, there's a package for Lily. No sender, just her name. Elias's heart sank. The box sat on the nurse's station, innocuous but ominous. Inside was a single Itima new stuffed rabbit, identical to Lily's, with a note, "I'm still family." The hospital's walls seemed to close in, and Elias knew the fight was far from over. The note in the package sent a chill through the hospital. Elias held the stuffed rabbit, its button eyes mocking the gravity of the moment. "I'm still family," the note read, in sharp, deliberate handwriting. It was a taunt, a reminder that Paul Harper or whoever sent it was still watching. Elias handed it to security, his voice low. "Get this to the police. Now." Sarah stayed with Lily, shielding her from the discovery. The girl was coloring again, her focus on a drawing of Hope, her tiny baby. "She'll need a rabbit too," Lily said, her voice soft but hopeful. Sarah smiled, but her eyes flicked to Elias, worry etched in her expression. They were running out of time to protect Lily from a past that refused to stay buried. The police arrived within the hour, dusting the package for prints and questioning staff. Detective Lopez, a gruff man with a kind face, took Elias aside. "We're tracking Harper, but he's off the grid. No credit cards, no phone. This guy knows how to disappear." Elias's fists clenched. "He's not just disappearing. He's taunting us. Lily's not safe until he's caught." Back in the pediatric ward, Lily's strength was improving, but her questions grew heavier. "Why did he hurt me?" she asked Sarah, her voice small. Sarah hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "Some people do bad things because they're broken inside, Lily. But that's not your fault." Lily nodded, but her eyes were distant, as if searching for a truth she couldn't yet grasp. Elias and Sarah met with Rivera again, this time with a social worker, Ms. Patel, who specialized in trauma cases. "Lily needs stability," Patel said. "Foster care's an option, but we're exploring kinship placement. If there's no family, adoption might be best. Elias's heart sank at the thought of Lily facing another uncertain future. What about Hope? He asked. Patel's face softened. That's complicated. Lily's too young to parent, but we'll ensure they stay connected. The hospital was now a fortress, with security at every entrance. But the media frenzy grew. Headlines screaming about the miracle birth and hospital scandal. Dr. Holt called another meeting, her voice sharp. We're drowning in speculation. We need to release anything to calm this down. Elias pushed back. Lily's not a story. She's a child. We protect her first. By evening, a breakthrough came. Rivera called with news. A former group home worker had come forward, claiming Paul Harper had been investigated for inappropriate behavior but was never charged due to lack of evidence. He had access to Lily for months. Rivera said, we're pulling his associates, his haunts. We'll find him. Elias felt a flicker of hope, but it was tempered by dread. Paul was too close. That night, Lily woke from a nightmare, screaming for her mother. Elias rushed to her side, holding her as she sobbed. I want to be normal, she whispered. I don't want to be scared anymore. Elias's throat tightened. You're already stronger than you know. Lily, we're going to make this right. As she drifted back to sleep, he sat by her bed, the weight of her words fueling his resolve. The hospital was no longer just a place of healing, it was a battleground for justice. Paul Harper's shadow loomed, but Elias and Sarah were ready to fight. For Lily, for hope, and for the truth that would finally set them free. The hospital's rhythm had shifted, each day a delicate balance between hope and dread. Elias and Sarah were now more than doctors, they were Lily's guardians, her advocates in a world that had failed her. The police had a lead on Paul Harper, tracking him to a rundown motel on Chicago's outskirts. But he'd slipped away again. The stuffed rabbit and its note sat in an evidence bag, a haunting reminder of his reach. Lily was growing stronger, physically and emotionally. She spent hours drawing, her sketches now filled with bright colors. Hope's tiny hands, a sun over a red-doored house. Sarah sat with her, encouraging every small step toward healing. You're an artist, Sarah said, smiling as Lily added a rainbow to her latest drawing. Lily's shy grin was a victory, but her questions cut deeper. Will Hope know me? She asked. Sarah's heart clenched. She'll know you're her hero, she said, hoping it was enough. Elias met with Detective Lopez, who shared new details. We found a witness, a kid from the group home. Says Harper targeted vulnerable kids, gained their trust. Lily wasn't the only one. The words were a gut punch. Elias's mind raced, imagining other children carrying silent scars. We need him behind bars, Elias said, his voice steel. Lopez nodded. We're close. He's running out of places to hide. The hospital's media storm hadn't subsided. Dr. Holt released a statement, vague but reassuring, emphasizing patient privacy and care. It did little to quell the headlines, but it bought time. Elias and Sarah focused on Lily, coordinating with MS. Patel to plan her future. A foster family in Chicago, experienced with trauma cases, had expressed interest in taking both Lily and Hope. It's a long shot, Patel said, but they're good people. Lily deserves that. By afternoon, Lily was cleared to visit Hope again. She stood by the incubator, her eyes bright with wonder. She's growing, Lily whispered, tracing the glass. Elias watched, his chest tight with pride and sorrow. This child, so young, had endured so much. Yet her love for her baby was fierce. "You're going to be an amazing big sister," he said, and Lily's smile was a beacon in the dark. That evening, Rivera called with urgent news. "We've got Harper." Picked him up at a gas station near the state line. Elias's relief was tempered by rage. "What's next?" he asked. "Interrogation," Rivera said. "He's denying everything. But we've got enough to hold him. Lily's statement will seal it." Elias nodded. Knowing the hardest part was yet to come, Lily would need to face her abuser, if only through her words. As night fell, Elias and Sarah sat with Lily, explaining what would happen. "You're so brave," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. "Your story will help stop him." Lily nodded, clutching her rabbit. "I want him to go away," she said. "For Hope." Elias felt a surge of admiration for this child, whose strength outshone her pain. The hospital's walls seemed to hum with purpose. The truth was within reach. And with it, the chance to give Lily and Hope a future free from fear. Elias and Sarah stood together, ready to see this through, knowing the fight for justice was as vital as any surgery they'd ever performed. The courtroom was a world away from the hospital's sterile halls, but its weight was just as heavy. Elias and Sarah sat in the back, their presence a quiet show of support for Lily, who wasn't there. She was safe with her new foster family, a couple who'd opened their hearts to both her and Hope. Paul Harper's trial was swift, the evidence overwhelming. Lily's testimony, recorded with care to spare her the stand, paired with the group home witness and the stuffed rabbit's note. He was convicted, sentenced to decades behind bars. A small justice for a towering wrong. Back at Street Mary's, the media frenzy had quieted, replaced by a softer story, one of resilience and hope. Lily's case had sparked reforms, with Illinois tightening oversight of foster care systems. Elias and Sarah felt the change, a ripple from one child's courage. They visited Lily weekly, watching her bloom in her new home. The red-doored house from her drawings was real now, a cozy bungalow where she and Hope were loved. Lily, now 10, was thriving in therapy, her laughter brighter each day. Hope was growing, a chubby baby with her mother's hazel eyes. The foster parents, the Thompsons, were patient and kind, helping Lily navigate her unique role. Not quite a mother, but more than a sister. "She's my family," Lily told Elias during one visit, her stuffed rabbit still by her side. "We're safe now." Her words were a balm, healing the scars of that first chaotic night. Elias and Sarah stood in the hospital's garden, reflecting on the journey. "She changed us," Sarah said, her voice soft. "Made us better doctors, better people." Elias nodded, his eyes on the horizon. "She reminded us why we fight for the ones who need us most." They'd faced the impossible, uncovered a painful truth, and helped a child rebuild her world. The hospital was quieter now, but Lily's impact lingered. Nurses spoke of her in hushed tones, a symbol of hope amid chaos. Dr. Holt, softened by the ordeal, started a fund for foster care advocacy. naming it after Lily's drawing, the Red Door Project. It was a legacy of love, born from a truth that had shocked them all. As Elias walked through the pediatric ward one last time, he passed Lily's old room. The bed was empty, the walls bare, but the air felt lighter, as if her strength had seeped into the space. He smiled, knowing she was out there, painting rainbows and building a future with hope. The hospital had been a crucible, forging not just survival, but redemption. Lily's story wasn't just a headline or a medical miracle, it was a testament to the human spirit, to the power of compassion in the face of darkness. Elias and Sarah carried it with them, a reminder that even in the hardest moments, there was always a chance to heal, to fight, and to love.